the awkward reality for Democrats. They're defending crime instead of fighting it.
We are the party, the Republicans are the party that wants to stop crime. We're against crime. The Democrats like crime. I don't know why. I think crime will be the big subject of the midterms and will be the big subject of the next election. They called it a trap. This Democrat consultant, they said, he's put him in a trap again because these are all traps. 80-20, but they're not 80-20. They're almost 100-0.
Hello, everyone. I'm Katie Pavlich, along with Harold Ford Jr., Jesse Waters, Dana Perino, and Tyrus. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five.
You have not had this happen for 4 years. You sat and you'd ask one question to Biden, and it was always the ice cream question, right? What flavor ice cream do you like best? I like vanilla. And that was the end of the conference.
President Trump holding a marathon cabinet meeting that stretched past 3 hours, covering just about every major issue facing Americans at home and abroad. At the center of it all, crime. 47 was touting his incredible turnaround of Washington, D.C. from one of America's most dangerous cities to what he now calls the safest city in the nation. And in classic Trump fashion, he pointed out the awkward reality for Democrats. They're defending crime instead of fighting it.
And we are the party, the Republicans are the party that wants to stop crime. We're against crime. The Democrats.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows that. The Democrats are anti-police. They've been saying that since George Floyd. Defund the police, defund the police. Everybody knows what that is. That started with the Democrat thing.
It's like crime. I don't know why. I think crime will be the big subject of the midterms and will be the big subject of the next election. They called it a trap. This Democrat consultant, they said, he's put him in a trap again because these are all traps. 80-20, but they're not 80-20. They're almost 100-0.
And just as the president predicted, the left is falling for it. As Politico noted this morning, on crime, Trump has Democrats right where he wants them. Case in point, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson repeatedly dodged Morning Joe's questions on whether an increased police presence would help out with violence in the Windy City.
Would you also like to get federal funding to help put 5,000 more cops on the street in Chicago?
Policing by itself is not the full strategy.
No, do you believe?
Typical Democrat, policing itself is not the full strategy. Yeah, it's not the full strategy, but it's the main effort. And he couldn't say if more cops in Chicago would make it safe. And if you can't answer that, you're not serious about crime. You're not even trying to keep your citizens safe, man. It's a joke. These people are a joke.
That the streets of Chicago would be safer if there were more uniformed police officers on the streets of Chicago?
I believe the city of Chicago and cities across America would be safer if we actually had, affordable housing. Look,
okay,
I'm not saying that
that's
we
not
don't.
the question I
Again.
asked. My question.
Yeah, again, dodging the questions because you're not serious about crime. It's like they want crime. It's so weird.
And I just need a yes or a no. Would an additional 5,000 cops on the streets in Chicago help complement those programs to make Chicago safer?
I don't believe that just simply putting out an arbitrary number around police officers is the answer.
All right, Dana, I actually agree with the mayor in the sense that policing is not the only thing you need. You also need prosecution and tough on crime policies and laws in cities across the country to actually keep people off the streets and from getting out if they commit a crime. But it seems like to me the Democrats and these mayors have gone so far off the deep end with the defund the police movement that they can't now come back to saying and admitting that actually not having police officers really has been detrimental.
Brandon Johnson in Chicago in particular, but Muriel Bowser in D.C. a little bit different, right? She has said we need to add, I think it's 300 police officers. She's asking and hoping for more recruits. And so and that's why initially, even with her in D.C., it was like, we don't really love this, but it could help. And then she's had to deal with her constituents and gone on to a little bit to the left. But in general, it's like she knows that this can give them some breathing space in order to get some things calmed down.
And it has in D.C. The proof is in the pudding. Thousands of arrests have happened in D.C. and it's brought crime down. Enforce the law, crime stops. It's literally that simple.
Down. But in the meantime, you have Brandon Johnson. This guy's more recently has done better, but about 2 months ago, he had a 7% approval rating in all of Chicago. Okay, and it's mostly a Democrat city. So that means your mom and maybe your aunt still like you. And
7% is crazy. It's like nobody approves of you. And it's a Democrat-ran city. And he's going on there being like, yeah, no, we don't need more cops. We don't need more cops. He should be on there being like, I want to do what my city wants. I want the people that voted for me, I want to do whatever they want.
that's it. What was so painful about the interview that Joe Scarborough did with him is that he's clearly trying to give him a lifeline. He's trying to lead the witness. He's like, don't you think that more police would help? And he's like, no, he's like, but don't you think? And even Brandon Johnson didn't want to take that because he thought that Joe Scarborough was trying to put him in a trap.
Yeah.
And so now you're going to have Democrats all across the country have to defend this. And that is one, on the merits, good. Let's have this debate. Let's figure out a way to get America's cities more safe. But also then on the politics. Karl Rove was on Newsroom today saying that if you go back, and Harold maybe could talk about this, that when Bill Clinton realized that the 1996 was going to be a bad election year, what did he do? Figured out a way to do the crime bill, add more cops, and get the federal government to pay for it. And he was able to win.
So, Tyrus, one of the big problems Democrats have, besides defending crime, is that President Trump made a campaign promise to clean up D.C., and now other people in these cities are saying, why can't we do that in our city? Why are our leaders failing us? They combined it with policy and execution, which is resulting in results. I mean, there are thousands of arrests happening in D.C., so it's not just like they've said this and they hope people like it. It's actually actionable.
Well, you keep going to, I always try to look at the other side's perspective, and you try to figure out what is their argument, even when I made a little chart. You just, the pros and cons. There's no pros to their argument. We had 4 years of lawlessness in our big cities to where they're emboldened, they're attracted, they form groups, they use Facebook to map out where they're going to go. So, and the police are underfunded, and they went through 4 years of hell. So the only reasonable way to fix this is to bring in extra help, which is in this case, our military. And we've seen amazing results, not just that they're there, but the presence is there. Now the guys, when they're in the house going, hey, which Walmart are we going to knock off? I don't know, man. There's soldiers everywhere. I'm not going out tonight. It's a deterrent, and it's working. And my argument is, since you try to figure out what is the profit? What is the benefit of speaking out against this? Whom is going to vote for you or support you or send you money in your campaign for saying I'm anti everything they're doing? So the best way to win this argument, there's only one way. What Mayor Johnson has to do is they like to do challenges. They always want to do bench press challenges. And here's a challenge for you. Switch with one of your constituents in these rough neighborhoods without your team. All you get is a little.
Right, like I just said, he should be doing anything his constituents want. He'd be going in the neighborhood and saying, listen, I'm here for you. What do we need to do? Let's all get together right now and just do this. This is like common sense stuff. These people are they're like stooges. They're like puppets. Ridiculous.
Little chest camera, and that's it. And you live in that apartment for 7 days with no staff, no bodyguards, nothing, in a small allowance, $100.
Yeah, small. He'd probably get stuck up and probably shot and killed.
And you figure it out for a week. Yeah. See how long and then when you come out of that, and if you can look that camera in the face, like, yeah, we don't need help in our cities, then maybe you could have an argument, and I could add that to the list.
But you have to add kids that you have to send to school.
Yes.
Yeah.
To that scenario, because that's a huge problem.
And to play in parks and to walk down the street by themselves, and not to do what the governor of Illinois just did, which is to go to a place with bodyguards in the safest part of Chicago
and film the water,
ignoring it. Exactly.
Water crimes are not running out of order.
They are
where
not.
The crimes are happening.
So Harold, it seems like politically, Democrats could.
Right. If you're the person in charge and you have to go to a public place with bodyguards to film a video looking at water, yeah, you've got problems. And people want safety, not excuses. I mean, the number one thing of government is to protect your citizens. And that's what a lot of these Democrat-ran cities lack, and they fail to do, is protect their citizens.
Could disarm Republicans by working with the president on these issues and solve some crime in their cities, get an accomplishment, and then take away the accusation that Democrats are pro-crime. But at the DNC summer meeting where they're trying to start over, you have this woman who's a consultant saying that this is an issue that affects Americans, and simply it's just an issue that is a red herring, essentially, that Republicans are pouncing on for Democrats rather than reality.
Good to be back around the table. A couple of things. First, it's been duly noted by Karl Rove and I think many others. We've said it on this show. The last time we had a national crime bill that actually went after fighting crime and put more cops on the street, introduced community policing, expanded it, helped provide more prosecutors around the country to prosecute violent criminals. It was Bill Clinton, a Democratic president. I don't think of this as a Democrat Republican, but if we're going to go down the narrative and use some of the vernacular, I'm happy to do it. Democrats, this may not be the issue that the 26 elections are decided upon. Many people always say it's the economy, but I tell you, we're walking right into not only a trap, but as I said yesterday, we swing at every pitch outside of the strike zone. Crime is an issue in cities, in rural areas all across this country, whether it be drugs infiltrating communities, whether it be guns infiltrating communities, and the violence that spews from that or that flows from that. The mayor of D.C., who I think is doing a pretty decent job, said, look, we need more money for jails. We need more money for mental health, as I've heard the mayor here in New York and other.
Doing a good job. He's got a 7% approval rate. Who is this guy? He's got to be Democrat too, 100%. No, he is a Democrat. What am I talking about?
Cities across the country. I thought my pal Joe Scarborough tried to give the mayor of Chicago a lifeline.
Yeah, he's his friend.
There's nothing
friends
wrong
with
with
Joe
saying you need more
Scarborough, yeah.
police officers.
PG.
You could say, yes, we want more police officers to help us with mental health issues who are trained in that way. We want police officers who can help us break up domestic violence disturbances. As Tyra said yesterday, fundamentally, any city in America, if you're a leader there, you want crime reduced so you can induce more investment, more jobs, more opportunities, new things, new education opportunities coming to.
Yeah, and this guy's talking about common sense. And if this needs to be talked about like this from Democrats at just a common sense level, they're doomed. Their party's doomed. Doomed. We need to have less crime so we can bring businesses in and we can invite more opportunity. That's common sense. Hopefully they wake up in time.
Communities. This is why this is important. But I would urge President Trump, I get it. Sending the military might be the thing to do, but do a crime bill. You have Republicans. Katie, you said Democrats should go to them. Republicans control the House and the Senate. When they get back off recess, Speaker Johnson, put together a massive, smart, comprehensive crime bill, and you'll get Democrats like me on television saying, Democrats, support it.
So, Jesse, this is not just a narrative or the vernacular. You have
God forbid the Chicago mayor gets into his communities and tries to get people accountable for what's going on instead of just being like, oh no, we just need to put more taxpayer money into it. Yeah, that'll probably help if you get a bunch of soldiers and stuff on the street, but we need some accountability in the community.
of these Democratic mayors speaking out against the president. They're not willing to involve themselves in turning over illegal immigrants to ICE, for example, which are a big part of these arrests. And at the DNC, again, they're not willing to admit that they were wrong. And the mayor of DC, to her credit now, has moderated a little bit on this, but she's actually the reason why the police department is short thousands of cops and they're trying to pay $30,000 for bonuses, because she was part of this narrative in 2020 that defund the police was an option that would make communities safer.
Well, over 90% of the black victims of shootings are black. I didn't say that correctly, but you get the point.
Right. Accountability in the community. And if, the black mayor can get some accountability with his black constituents, maybe they can turn things around without having to spend money or be afraid of all the cops like he talks about. Maybe if you just go get some accountability, you can turn things around. Imagine.
This is something that Trump is saying Black Lives Matter, and Democrats are saying, no, they don't. So he's trying to protect black lives, and he's going to win black votes because of this.
And again, that's not even a white or black thing. That's any situation that there's problems in, and there's a group of people not taking accountability, and that's the easiest way to do it. No, off this. Go back a little bit. We'll just put it in.
No, they don't. So he's trying to protect black lives, and he's going to win black votes because of this. It's the same thing with illegal immigration. He went out and tried to secure the border, and the Democratic Party thought Hispanics were going to recoil, and they didn't. They voted for Trump. And the same thing's happening here. Black people want safe neighborhoods. Hispanic Americans want secure borders. It's not that difficult for the Democrats to understand. You asked.
No. It's very difficult for Democrats to understand because they don't want that. They want chaos. They want the country to be flooded so that they can change the electoral college because like we've talked about, if you flood the country with people that are going to vote for you, the electoral college will change. And that was the whole attempt.
Jr. the right question. If you can't beat them, join them. Why don't they just join with the president to make sure the country is safe? It's not that complicated. They hold a losing hand, Katie.
And if they were serious about crime, they would. They're not serious about crime. They want crime. And it's not hard to understand.
And it's killing them politically, and it's also killing Black Americans. So do the right thing. The Democratic Party has to be more nationalist. They have to want to build ships. They have to want to build AI centers. They have to want to do what's right for the country. And if you have someone going after Jerome Powell because he's keeping rates high and people are locked out of homes and you can't have the American dream, why don't they jawbone Powell too? So he brings rates down so we can get this party going again. Everybody knows someone who's been pickpocketed, carjacked. Maybe it happened to them personally. And all these things have happened in the inner city. And if you go out and tell these people, crime's down, and throw a statistic in their face, well, I just got shot in the abdomen, and you're giving me a statistic, you're not taking me seriously. And we have to take everything the politicians say so seriously. Their work got broken into on January 6th. Oh, my God, we heard about it for 2 years. 0.1% of the population is trying to figure out what bathroom to go to. We have to hear about that nonstop. Redistricting was 3 weeks. Yep. No one even cares about that. All right, so we have to pay attention to your shenanigans, but people are getting shot in the leg. People are dying from fentanyl because the heroin highway comes right through Chicago, and they're saying, don't worry about it, and throwing numbers at you that they cooked because they're cooking the books. Trump's not laying a trap. He's just doing the right thing. Democrats should try that sometime.
Katie, I wasn't being critical of you when I said the narrative. I only meant if
That's
the
okay.
president. If I'm going to be critical, I'll be frontal critical.
Trump's doing a few right things, and this helping with crime is definitely one of them.
Republicans, Mr. Trump ought to just get them to pass something in Congress too, because as you know, in D.C. he can do all of this.
I don't disagree with
and
that.
I think the Democrats are wrong. Any Democrat that does a Democratic mayor doesn't want more cops. Shame on you.
Well, it's really difficult to run over with a hose on the police situation when a lot of the Democrats are the ones who built this problem by saying all cops are racist and they should be defunded. So they don't really want to admit that they were wrong.
I didn't say that.
That's what I said. All right, up next, are the Democrats about to go?
Right. And that's the ultimate moral of this entire story. The Democrats and Black Lives Matter are the two forces that created this anti-cop movement, and now they're having to deal with the fruits of the labor, tons and tons of crime. Unfortunately, unless they start getting behind the law enforcement in their communities, it's just going to get worse. And like they talked about, it might not be a big issue in the 2026 midterms, but come 2028, it's going to be a big problem. So hopefully the Democrats can readjust by then and figure it out. Personally, do I think so? Absolutely not. It's going to be another Republican president. Not that I'm even super in favor of that, but that's just the way it's looking. That's just my opinion. So yeah. If you liked any of this content, just hit me with a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.